Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist, my weekly show where you know, my guest and I play some movie roulette and randomly select something from my obscenely large, completely random watch list. And boy, did we get a doozy this time. And I'm joined by a Renaissance woman, if you will, my friend, actor, writer, former Susan K. Heaney. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm so happy to be here. And I think it's so funny that you've seen so many movies, but this shows me that there are still some you haven't seen yet.
I have like an 8,000 movie watch list to remind me there are things I have not watched, though
Okay.
it's an obscene watch list for sure. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of movies on there that I don't even think you can find anyway. So, how many of them can I really watch? But we'll find out as I continue to check things off of it. But like I referenced, we certainly have a doozy here, and that is the Image Book, the last film from Jean-Luc Godard. So we're, looking at one of the greats of French cinema. And of course, I went to my little box and it refreshed, getting back to my notes here. Though this film was released May 11th, 2018. So Godard was literally making films until almost 2020. He did pass away in 2022. This has a runtime of 88 minutes, so I believe that's modest. Um, and this is a Swiss avant-garde essay film. That is one interesting way to put it for sure. Um,
Mhm.
like we mentioned, this is the final feature of Godard's career. This premiered at the 2018 Cannes Film Festival and was awarded a special Palme d'Or because, of course, they would. Um,
Of course. They had to.
This goes right up nicely next to Woman Has Sex with Car movie by 10, which honestly, I think is a pretty fantastic, wild movie. And I did witness multiple 60 plus year olds walk out of that movie when I saw that in a theater.
Amazing. Like,
They're like,
and having enjoyed themselves. Yes.
well, I think they went and like, oh, this won a Palme d'Or. And then they watched Woman Having Sex with Car and was like, I'm not about this. Walked out.
Oh, walking out, leaving. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, they walked out within 30 minutes of the
I
start
thought
of the
you meant
movie.
that they walked out like, ooh la la, a woman had sex with a car. No, I see.
Uh, Not these 60 or 70-year olds. Maybe some others
You're
might
hanging
have
out with
enjoyed it.
the wrong, yeah. You're hanging
Yep,
out with the wrong elders, you know?
there we go. But this film, here's the synopsis to the Image Book. According to IMDb, nothing but silence, nothing but a revolutionary song, a story in 5 chapters, like 5 fingers of a hand. Because, that certainly tells you what this movie is about. So, yep, it's that kind of movie, for sure. And this is literally broken into 5 parts, like 5 fingers on a hand. We have remake Petersburg's evenings, these flowers between the rails in the confused wind of travels, the spirit of the laws, and La Région Centrale. And that is the best French you're going to get out of me with a recovering voice
It wasn't,
with laryngitis.
it wasn't bad. I'm pretty impressed.
I'm surprised I got it out. So there we go. But all of this being said, Suke, what are your general thoughts on this movie?
Whew. Okay. It's so funny because as you're reading the titles, it makes less and less sense to me. Even though, of course, when I watched it, I saw the titles. I mean,
Yep.
especially the these flowers between the rails and the confused winds of travel. Anyway, travels, sorry, excuse me. Um, okay, I'm just say overall, I'm in a liking phase of movies where I am really like friends are like, talking trash about movies and I'm like, it's so hard to get a movie made and
Yep.
what about this part of it or that or this? And I will say this broke my streak of being a blind liker of every movie I've seen in the last like 4 months because I literally been going to bat for like every movie that's Oscar nominated. I was like, they're all so valid and this and that. And I was like, ooh, I'm missing something with this one. And so that's my sort of overall, and I won't say that I didn't like it because that's not fair, but I felt largely apathetic for a lot of it because I was confused about what I was supposed to be extrapolating from these kind of distorted images and gruesome images. And, I understand some points of the movie, which we can talk about, probably very few, but overall, I was like, this is a fever dream it's like a montage that I would see playing in a Hollywood bar late at night while people are like drinking absinthe and like being like, oh, how cool this is, right? Like, but watching it alone in my house, I was like, what is happening here?
My experience with this film was honestly sitting there kind of perplexed. And
Yeah.
like in broad strokes, I understand what this film's trying to be, I guess, in terms of, Godard's trying to explore the world around us and, you know, taking look at film and filmmakers, looking at some of the worst atrocities of humanity and just kind of holding a mirror up to us and
Yes.
what humanity has done to other humans, what we try to do in expressing art, and is that really enough? But I'll be frank, I didn't really care, to be honest. And I
That's what
I sat here for 88 minutes watching this in a state of, okay, it's interesting what they're doing with these shots. Like, this isn't just like some pristine throwing together a bunch of shots. There's a grit to it. There's certainly an artistic twist on it. Maybe I'm not French enough. But
I.
I was sitting there and like I've seen other films of his, and obviously he didn't make a career making avant-garde essay films. He made like inventive and interesting narrative films as well, but like this was one of those types of experiences where it's like, well, I can say that I watched this, and I can say that Godard certainly put himself into this experience and took the time to really explore these things. It just didn't resonate with me, and it didn't hit a frequency where it made me like, obviously it's provocative. There's going to be imagery in here that's going to elicit some kind of response for you. And as somebody who loves movies, seeing a bunch of movie clips popping up on the screen, it's going to grab my attention. It just, I think, like you said, like I felt apathetic to the experience. And I am sure there are people out there that this really clicked with and they found something profound, but I didn't really find much from my experience watching it.
I think what you pointed out that I fully like, there's this really interesting thing happening that is like an image from a movie and then an image from the news that is a lesser known image from the news, like not like man landing on the moon or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But like, more obscure. Um, and it's mixing like the movie clips with the news clips, and I think showing us that we remember movie clips in a way that we don't remember news clips. Like they don't get into our brains in the same way, right? Like so that was
Yeah.
very interesting to me. And it was true, right? Like and as a movie lover as well, I'm kind of also playing the game because for anyone who's going to run out and watch this, some of the movie clips they're pretty short. They're like a couple seconds and I'm going, I know that movie, I know that movie. And I'm definitely playing that game and then I'm looking at the other images and I don't know them, right? So then I'm feeling slightly not guilty, but a little bit like, ooh, interesting. But and then I was wondering, like, has a lot changed because of COVID? because during COVID, I feel like images on our phones and everything were so much more like getting circulated, like similar images. People would like be posting the same sort of news image. And I wonder if that's been a change in the 7 years since he made this, 8 years, right? Like, or yeah, I'm sure social media was a thing in 2018. I know that, right? But like,
Yes.
I don't think it was as much of a thing that became 2 years later.
This film came out at such an interesting time
The
because
before time.
yeah, it's so funny because I joked so much since then that like 2020 was when the world fell. And I feel like I'm doing a narration at the beginning of a post-apocalyptic film. It's just like, and then March 2020, the world fell. I left the movie theater and didn't return for a year and a half. And like
Right,
that kind of vibe, but like this film came out like a year and a half before everybody's
right.
lives changed and the world changed. And it's an
Yeah.
interesting little time capsule of somebody's perspective on these things because I do feel like during 2020, we didn't have anything else to do. So people did spend so much time on social media, and social media became such a big piece of protesting and advocating. And like for the past
Yeah.
couple of years, it was at the point where it's like I couldn't go on Instagram without seeing posts about Palestine and things going
Yeah.
on in Palestine. And those things do burn in your brain. You do get overloaded because I actually talk about this in my analytics class because
Mm.
analytics is about big data. How many posts do you think get made on Instagram on a day-to-day basis?
Oh my God.
An
I have
obscene
no clue.
amount.
Okay,
The
okay.
answer is an
Like
obscene amount.
million, million. Okay, okay. I've seen it much.
So it's overload. And how does a single image and I think you're hinting at this a bit, thinking about the perspective of yes, these film scenes are burned in my brain, but I don't remember these newscasts and stuff because the world's different. Because there are images from newscasts that have been burned into the zeitgeist and pop culture and our human existence because you had three choices to watch TV. It's like there was
Right.
millions of people
Right.
who saw this newscast and saw that image, you know, on the moon, or that person standing in front of the tank about to run them over,
Yes. Yes, of
or
course.
images out of Vietnam. All of those things
Yes. Yeah.
have been burned into our brains, but now there's just so much that nothing stands out. And I even experienced that a little bit with movies. I watched an obscene amount
Mm.
of new movies in 2025. I am certainly
Yeah.
there are films that I watched that I can't remember a single frame from. And that's sad to think about, but it's just when you absorb so much, not everything's gonna stick. Most is not.
I mean, have been trying to limit my social media time, but I was on Instagram today and I can't tell you one of the things that I like was like, haha, or like one of the 10 posts somebody sent me that to make me laugh, right? Like I liked them, I hearted them, I haha'd them, but I literally cannot sitting here with you remember one of them. So, I get that I do. It's like an interesting point. But then I was wondering like why he was messing with the movie images because so many of them he was like changing the color of it or the speed
Yeah.
of it or the adding things to it and like then I was like, well, that's not really a documentary. Like which I guess it's not really considered it's an essay film, right?
Yeah.
But it's like if you're gonna mess with the image, then I don't understand the point even more. I'm more confused.
And whether it's an idea of him pointing out that we distort everything
Mm,
to get very
true.
profound at this point. I was having the movie Life of Chuck. made me have
Uh-huh.
a really kind of wild moment of self-reflection on how we see the world. Because
Mm,
one of the acts of the story of Life of Chuck, it's in 3 acts, really represents that we have a whole entire world in our minds filled with people we think we met. Because the idea is,
mm.
you know, we've become friends through collaborating and talking about movies, but the Sue Kate that I know is not the
Mm.
actual Sue Kate because my perception of the world is different than yours. And
Yeah.
nobody will know the real you except for you because everybody sees everyone else through their own filter of things. And I was just having a moment driving home from that press screening, just being like, I'm like wigging out about like whole entire world's like changed my perspective on things.
Yeah.
And this whole essay is a very personal journey for Jean-Luc Godard. He is distorting it in his perception of it and his frustration of it. It's like, why do we remember this clip from Vertigo, but we can't remember these clips of children dying in Palestine?
Yeah.
And I don't have an
But
explanation
then
for that.
I guess when I think about it, like always was sort of like taught when you make like a movie like this or a documentary
Yeah.
type movie or essay type film, right? What is the question that you want and I don't make these kind of movies, right? I make comedies,
Yeah.
but it's like, what is the question you want to raise? And it seemed like more of an answer than a question. Like it definitely was a question, right? But it seemed like he had already passed the judgment of us, the viewer.
Well, I
Um,
honestly, this feels like him trying to make us see what's wrong with us that he has already
yes,
perceived about
yes,
us.
yes. He's like, I am further along in the journey. Like I am a filmmaker, but I remember these things. And none of you are paying attention enough. Or something, yes, it felt a little bit like I was being hit over the head a little bit with that part of it.
And it's challenging because I get the themes and putting a spotlight on like this focused a lot on modern conflicts in Arab countries, like in the Arab world
Middle
and the
East.
Middle
Yeah.
East. And it's still a problem. Like we're recording the day after the State of the Union. I'm like this looming cloud of like, are we invading Iran? Like, is this
I
happening?
know.
And
Right. Right.
what's the hell's happening between Palestine and Israel and
Right.
Lebanon and literally Israel with every and
Yes.
the like we sit here, it's like, what are we as individuals supposed to do about it? And this is like I feel like this film's trying to pass judgment on what we value and connect with. But here's the thing, like art is meant to connect with you as a human being on that level. And you find the human elements of it. Showing me news broadcasts and shots like that, because like I don't live there. I have never been there. I've never experienced this. I don't have a connection. Like if you if you showed me clips of things that I experienced or I was there, and that elicits some kind of
Hmm.
connection with me because it's part of my experience. Like the news isn't supposed to be something where it's like, hey, this is supposed to, you know, connect with you specifically. It's like news is supposed to be reporting on what's happening. Now, news has
Right.
been distorted. And
Of
what is
course.
news in 2026 is a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
But
another movie for another day.
that, that's a whole other conversation, not ready to have tonight.
Yeah.
Um, This just feels like I get it. I get what he's trying to say. I get what he's trying to point out. And I can appreciate his approach to molding this into very specific vision that he has. It's just I didn't get that much out of it. Like, obviously, we can sit here and talk about and analytically break down what's going on here. Like, it just didn't elicit an emotional response on a level that I feel like it probably should have.
Like, that's exactly what I was going to say. I can cry if I see something in the news or someone puts up a post about, like something happening to a child or of course, I cried hysterically at Hamnet. Oh my God. But like, I mean, I was weeping at the 11 a.m. show with a group of other, I guess, actors who don't have to work during the day. But
Yeah,
like, all ages, all types, and like we're just all weeping together in a movie theater, right? And it's like the Greta Gerwig point, like the more specific it is, the more you can actually emotionally connect, especially if it's detailed and it's not your story, right?
yeah,
Then we see that story and we go, and it gives us a chance to cry and then hopefully see the world differently, see artists differently, see children differently, see, be a little kinder to the person next to us. You don't know what they're going through, right? Like that is what art does. And so
yeah.
for this, I felt no emotional involvement. It was all happening too quickly, and it seemed too stylized to make me really feel something. And the music I found very jarring. And like it almost wanted me to not get emotionally involved, I think.
And that's
Right? Like it was
interesting
like,
because I was having this
yeah.
same thought that if you want me to feel with these images, then why are you distorting them and making them more isolating for me to connect with? Because then it doesn't feel real.
Yes. Like linger or like change the tempo. So I almost like and I kind of love editing actually. And I'm not saying I could have edited this better because I couldn't have. But like I would probably put like movie quick clip, movie quick like movie news, movie news, movie news, and then a long news clip, and then movie, like and just kind of mess with the viewer more. But
Mm.
it became almost like a like movie, news, and I was like, oh my God, like what's happening here?
I'm gonna tell a little anecdote about one of my favorite podcasts,
Please.
The Cinephiles. And
Yeah.
Steve Morris, who's one of the hosts, is a directing instructor at UCLA, I think. And he's a filmmaker, he's an editor, and he does a lot of editing. He edits all their podcasts and he's edited films. And it's so funny because he'll talk about like they'll be talking about a Kubrick film. And he's like, Steve Morris wouldn't have edited that way. But like
Right.
I'm also not Stanley Kubrick. And that's why this works the way that it does. I can understand from an artistic standpoint Godard's approach to all of this because it is
Yes.
jarring. It is unnerving. And I remember when we randomly selected this and saw that IMDb labeled this a horror documentary. And we were both like,
You almost
well,
got me off the hook.
that's weird. And
I was like, I watch this, remember? Because I don't like horror and I can do
yeah,
it occasionally, but I close my eyes.
well, and as it turned out, it's, just highlighting the horrors of humanity and what we've done.
Right.
But it is avant-garde. It's very artistic. It's very stylized in a very specific way and utilizing like digital manipulations, oversaturating, bleaching, aspect ratio changes, and
Yes.
all these things to
Yes.
it's evocative from like a technical standpoint. Like I didn't connect with it. And to your point, like if you wanted me to really feel about these things, why am I being pushed away with the style of this? And, you know, I can appreciate the artistic swing of this. And obviously, this was a very personal journey for him and what he this felt like somebody's coda at the end of their life,
That
and just like this is
I
this
love
is my perspective.
I love when we're on the same page because that's exactly what I felt like. He was like, I don't know how much time I have left. This is what I really want to say. As somebody who has um not benefited, but like been the filmmaker of the narrative films that have some of these iconic, beautiful images in them. And now I want to say everyone should be looking away from that and looking toward the world, right? Like, and it did feel like he died, you said 4 years later,
four
right?
years later, yep.
2022. So, I mean, like, and I also feel everyone should make the movie they want to make. Like, I'm a big proponent of like make it weird and don't like without that we're gonna get stuck with the same remake movies all the time, right? So I'm glad people are making weird movies. I'm glad people are making movies that challenge us. I just don't know why I had to sit there for 88 minutes. Like, I feel like, when it could have been an email, I was like, could have been a short, but
And
I don't, I don't know.
and this was fascinating that like a filmmaker like Godard, it's like my last film is going to be a video essay like this. And there's a lot more ambitious artistic twists on this than what I'm going to reference in a second. Like, I watch video essays on YouTube all the time. Like, that's like
Yeah.
this felt like Godard does video essay about the world. Just, he's gonna make it weird because it's what he does. And it's just like thinking
Yeah.
about I've read books of authors that were more their perspective on the world versus like them telling a story. Watched films and interviews
Mm.
and perspectives of filmmakers showing their perspective on things. And everybody's going to gravitate towards different people and how they approach and have a perspective of the world. There's some filmmakers that I used to respect a lot. I still enjoy their movies and love their films. That honestly, I don't want to hear them talk ever again. And I'm referencing
Sure.
Quentin Tarantino because the more that man talks, I just can't. And maybe,
And when he threw that actor under the bus, I was like, Quentin, no. Like, and then all the actors came out. Like, we loved working
yeah,
with Paul Dano, I think. And I'm like,
yeah,
just why now it's like a whole thing. And if I'm Paul Dano, I feel so uncomfortable. And I was like dying because I'm an actor. And if you
yeah.
work with Quentin and then 10 years later, Quentin says that, oof,
Like I
yeah.
will
But
sit and
amazing,
watch it.
amazing filmmaker.
That's the thing. I'll sit and watch Inglourious Bastards and Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and still love these.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to listen to him talk about his worldview or anything
So,
because honestly, it just makes me frustrated.
so did this feel a
Here,
little bit like that? It's like, I don't know, need to listen to the ramblings of your mind. Like,
well, and this is going to be an odd comparison, but I'll get this back to artists. So I got asked, well, I didn't feel like I could say no, honestly, because when I went to go visit my brother and my nephews, we went to their church. And it's like a big southern mega church.
oh,
My nephews were singing that Sunday, and I'm like, I can't say no to this. And
right.
like, I'm a confirmed Roman Catholic. Like,
Sure.
church is a very
Me too.
specific type of thing for
Yeah.
Catholics. And going to this church, my mom walked out having listened to their pastor, or whatever you call them. Um, and felt rejuvenated and loved what he had to say. I sat there for all 50 minutes just being like, I don't agree with that. I don't like that spin you're putting on that. Like, that's how I sat there. And did I enjoy that experience? No. Like, intellectually,
Mm.
I sat there thinking the whole entire time. I'm like, at one point, this pastor was like, God is not your co pilot, God is driving. And basically you're all along for the ride. I'm like, and what's the
So then
point?
everyone can just buy
Well,
their bad choices. Right, totally.
so then like
Okay.
that's where my mind went. So like we're having
Yeah.
this conversation about this. Now, I've read like these autobiographical memoirs by Kurt Vonnegut, who he is one of
Hmm.
my favorite authors. Something just
Yeah.
clicks about his perspective on the world, his humor, and I loved that experience. I'd watch a video essay made by Kurt Vonnegut, and it clicks different because that speaks to me. This didn't really speak to me. And I came out of it
Hmm.
questioning it and pushing back on it a lot more. And maybe that was Godard's point. And, you know, and it worked. But it's not going to be
Yeah. I
this
mean,
isn't
that,
like, this is an experience that I want to have again. I guess putting
oh,
it
me
that way.
neither. And I also, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't recommend it to friends. I'm not going to say, oh, you should run out and grab this movie. Like, I don't
I
know,
have a
but that's
great
what I
idea
mean. Like,
for
I guess
date night. You should go rent the image book on Voodoo.
I'm just going to be honest. Mark started watching with me and fell asleep. And so I was stuck alone. But, there was like one kind of there was like one gruesome image. So I was like, oh, if it happens again, you have to tell me. And then he was like snoring. I was like, all right, fine. Because I was gonna, close the
Yeah.
eyes. Um, like there was it was like, Family Guy where it's like mum, mummy, like, and it's going on for just way too long. And then there comes like a moment where then something clicks and I was like back into it again for some reason. Like it was like painful. And then I was like, okay, I'm reconnected to something. And then it got painful again. But maybe like to your point and to this, what I'm saying, that might be his point. That it's painful to watch these things. That you want to look away, but you're kind of stuck there
Well, and the fact that
and you
we've
got
been
to try to get
talking
something.
about this for like 30 minutes, um, I guess is the
True.
point,
Right.
right?
I guess well, actually, that is a really good point. Is sometimes maybe it's the discussion you have after the art that's the point and not the art itself. Because you're saying things that are like really like it led you to like the versions of us that nobody really knows and all of those things and the women with having sex with the car and stuff. But we've gone in different directions, is what I'm saying,
Yes.
like, and that is the sign of a provocative movie.
Well, and that's the thing too, because you could have a film that you watch it and you enjoy it so much, but, like you talk about it afterwards, you have deep conversations about it, and then you do have films where it's just like, wow, it's really had me thinking a lot. And
Yes.
whether and think that thinking can be, you know, poking and prodding at the vision that the director had and grappling with that. And I certainly had a lot to grapple with this film, but it like this film did not make me change my perspective on the world. It did not make me like call me to action, but it made me think. And at least it did that.
Also,
So I could give it credit.
yeah, it did the same thing for me. And it made me kind of want to see more movies like this. Like I haven't really watched a lot of these essay films on YouTube, so I was sort of intrigued by that. And I did often think what led him to pick this particular image or the horses racing in that scene or there was that whole kind of travel-y section and like what a fascinating brain to live in. But and not like if I had to make this movie, oh my God, I can't even imagine be like the clip from Bridesmaids where they're like, you know, pooping in the street. Like I that's an iconic image for my mind, right? So like, yeah, it was interesting to take I had a writing teacher, Bruce, who used to say like, may I trample through your daisies? And that would be like after you'd written something, he'd ask if he could just kind of get in there and mess with them. And so
Mm.
I felt like in a way we were like we're trampling his daisies a little bit, but trying to figure out the why has, you know, been interesting to me.
Exactly.
I don't like puzzles. I'm not a puzzle girl. Like, I don't like the things together. I think this is a fatal flaw of mine, but like, why are we taking the pieces apart? So I felt this was a little bit of a puzzle movie and not like a good clue kind of puzzle and not Last of Sheila or whatever, like, which I loved, but like a puzzle that had no solving.
Well, and the process is trying to piece it together. and the thinking that you do along the way. It's like it's one of those
Right.
types of like unsolvable problems, but the whole
Yes.
entire point of it's to get you to think. And then somebody's like, this was a trick, but I got you thinking, didn't I? And it's like, I didn't appreciate that.
So true.
And, like,
Yeah, it's very like parent vibes, like a riddle, and like
Godard
that's what
parented us.
you were trying to get me there on my own. Wait, what?
He parented us. It's French grandpa
Oh, good.
just looking at the world, at everything, and just being like, think about it. And because here's the thing, it's like
Totally.
humanity has done horrible things. People do horrible things
Yeah.
to people, and those horrible things continue to happen. And, there is a disconnect from me sitting in the safety of my home in New Jersey, far, far away from Palestine, and never seeing these things for real. And,
Right.
there's a desensitization that has happened because of media and stuff like that. And like at 34 years old, I'm not affected by violence and gore as much as I used to be. And it's because like
Mm.
I've watched so many movies at this point, and like there's certain things that still get me. I fainted watching 127 hours, literally, like I
I
passed out.
in the movie theater.
It
That's
was
wild.
it was film club in college, and luckily
Amazing.
I was sitting like this, and when I passed
Oh.
out, my head was still on my hands. So for everybody behind me, it still looked like I was just intently watching the movie, but I actually passed out for a minute or two
Oh,
and then
I've like
came
fainted
to.
into my own body before. Yeah, yeah, that's a scary, scary feeling.
So like certain things still hit me. Like
Oh, me too.
I I have calling the person a friend at this point's a bit of a stretch because like I haven't been close with them for a long time, but her father's Palestinian. And obviously, all these things are hitting her very personally and very hard. And her and her mom post nonstop stuff about Palestine and these
Mhm.
images and stuff like that. And I'll admit, and whether people think this is a good thing or not, or if it's a bad thing or not, like I don't post anything else on my Instagram that isn't just me posting my movie stuff. And do things come up through the films that I watch? Yeah, if you watch reviews of films from Palestinian directors or documentaries about those things, sure, you're going to naturally get hints on my perspective on things. But most of my social media is just about like, I love film and this is what I do and sharing that. And I remember he got upset with me because I didn't want to share a whole bunch of these videos and stuff like that. And I'm like, and this might be a bit cynical of me. And I'm like, what's me posting these videos going to do to change centuries old conflict that's just being perpetuated? And I know people have that perspective that, like, well, you're not being an ally. Well, I do it in my own way. And,
Yes.
talking about films and documentaries, honestly, the amount of films that I've reviewed that came out of Israel and Palestine in the past 2 years is a lot. And
Yeah.
it's I hope that people check them out because it helps you be informed and you hear from somebody's perspective. But like how you navigate the world, and like maybe that's why it's like it's more of like, trust me, I understand that there's bad things going on. But what's one random tutoring supervisor and YouTuber in New Jersey going to do to change all the things that are happening over there, especially when we can't even control what the hell's going on in our own country at this
I know.
point?
Well, I mean, I vacillate and sometimes I do share things like that I feel and I'm like, this needs to And then, sometimes I'm like, I'm sharing it to everybody who agrees with me and feels like, like, and that's of course not true, but like, most of the people like that would be like, yes, like agreed. And so I vacillate between the things like, so, in a way, when I look at that, like, I guess there's like a certainty that comes with being like a filmmaker of this type, right?
Yeah.
And being like, sort of what we were talking about, like, this is what I feel, this is what I'm showing you. And, every filmmaker has a vision, right? Like, and there is that certainty. He's letting the images talk for himself, but he's saying, like, we can't look away from areas that are not getting, you know, coverage, right? Like we have to know what's going on in the world, and you can't just be in your bubble of film and TV.
Well, that's
But it's
true
like I wonder, yeah,
because
sorry. I
like
was gonna say I wonder what it happened if he lived a few more years and made this like post-COVID.
that I would have been fascinated to see
Right.
how like the Image Book 2 made in 2026 would look differently
Right.
than the Image Book that came out in 2018. And this is the challenging things. Now, not trying to spiral here, but the there's a fallacy that social media is there to help you elevate your voice. Because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, who controls it? The
Oh yeah,
companies
I know.
that
The
control it.
people, yes, the meta and the yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's
Right.
algorithms. Who controls
Of
the
course, everything
algorithms?
is hidden. The meta. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
And that's the thing because he's trying to point out these horrible images and stuff like that. And even with so much more news outlets, so much more social media, there's still people behind the scenes choosing what's going to break through. And
Right. And I guess that, yeah. So who's the movie for, right? Like it's like, yes, it, kind of what you said before, but we're doing that
well,
and we're
and
trying to
that
be informed.
well, that's so interesting too, because is this film for those who are ignorant or don't see what's around you? But those are going to
Right.
be the same people that are never going to watch an avant-garde essay film
That's
by
what I,
Jean-Luc Godard. So it's it kind of feels like it's in its own echo chamber. And
that's what I
that's
mean. It's like you posting on your Instagram about some like the, something you're feeling like a protest that week or something, right? Like it's almost like I'd be posting it to the people that are already going to be there. And if I'm going to it, I'm going to tell them I'm going to it, right? Like, so it's similar
it's
and like
like,
you're winning the Palme d'Or,
well, yeah, like
great.
obviously this was going to hit at
Totally.
Cannes because like this is exactly who
Perfect.
this film is made for.
Right.
And the people that you're really trying to like wake up to the
Yeah.
situation aren't going to watch a film like this.
What I mean,
And you know that and this is always interesting about your approach to things. And I think it's very interesting because this is still a relatively fresh conversation. Because if we think, well, actually, this is very interesting because what won Best Picture in 2000 out of 2018 films?
oh no,
Green
is
Book.
it? Knew you were gonna say it. Did you see my face go like I was about to say Green Book
Yeah.
and then I was like, can't even say. Oof.
Because here's the
Yeah.
thing. Is Green Book the most nuanced and complex exploration of race? No.
No,
But you know who
no.
loves that movie? Probably a lot of
Everyone who went to the
people.
movie theater and
Well, probably the people that wouldn't watch a Spike Lee film like Black Klansman.
which is
And
so
like,
upsetting. Like that's what's so
so like,
because
does
I feel like
Green
people
Book,
the buzz everyone's like, you gotta see Green Book. I think I was like on Long Island when it came out at one point, and like, my parents see everything, they're amazing, and like my parents' friends see everything, but like other people were like, this movie. And I was like, oh no, I'm scared to
well,
watch.
my mom's boyfriend, not that long ago, who's an 80-year-old Italian man, was like, "Hey Shane, did you watch that Green Book movie? That was great." And because it's like, how do I know that movie spoke to him? He's an 80-year-old Italian man. The movie's told
Yes.
from an Italian man's perspective,
Right.
and it is accessible. That speaks to them. So, does Green Book have purpose in conveying things through a lens that people will access it? And, there is a discourse between you have to take things down to a certain level to speak to a certain group of people that you're trying to get a message through, or should they challenge themselves? And there's the same people that watched Miss Daisy and would probably never watch Do the Right Thing. And
Right.
I'll admit, the first time I watched Do the Right Thing as a sheltered Italian kid from a South Jersey town where I could literally count the minorities on one hand in my graduating class, that was a hard watch for me.
No.
And to be honest, I got very defensive about how they portrayed Italian Americans in it. And as
Oh,
I've
I
grown
forgot about
older,
that. Yeah,
and I've grown older and realized it was actually very accurate. And just being
yeah.
like, it's one of those types of things where it's like the image book is not going to speak to the audience who really needs to hear it because
Yeah.
it's too challenging from an artistic standpoint. And you have these spectrums of how art expresses. Because there's like, is there a place for Green Book? Is there a place for Black Klansman in the same place? I think if you take a step back and think artistically, one of these is a stronger film, just like
100%.
Driving Miss Daisy and Do the Right Thing.
Do the right 100%.
But also think about who's voting on those things.
Yes, and also we need all of it. I
Well, and
mean,
that's the thing,
because
right?
yes. So I think that's what I mean about like it's so hard to get a movie made. If you're getting a movie made, you're getting people talking about whether they like it or not, which we have strong opinions about this movie about.
Yep.
Um, and it also like begs the point like whose story is this to tell? And so it's like it's interesting that this is his story he wants to tell, right? When I almost felt like maybe we could interview people because the end is all about the Middle East, but then throughout the movie there's other, atrocities, right? And I was
Yes.
like maybe interviews would be interesting. Like so you're centering the people whose stories you're sort of telling, like, but I know it's the
Yeah.
image book, so it's not about interviews, but just it's yeah, hindsight is I can come in here and like I'm trampling the daisies. But
Well, and I guess really my last
yeah,
thought
you're
that I
lots of
have about this film, because
yeah,
we have certainly talked about this a lot in many
sure.
different ways and what this has sparked. There is a bit of pushback that I have with his perspective that we need to stop focusing so much on the art and really look at what's happening. But art has done such a great job of highlighting these atrocities and helping people learn about it. I don't know if this was the case where you were from, but like every single senior class in my high school has had to watch Schindler's List. Like
Um,
you have
yeah,
to
like
watch that as part of the curriculum.
to
So
learn that this happened. This, yeah, yeah.
my brother was sick a lot through most of his life and missed a lot of his senior year. So he had to do a lot of stuff at home, including he was still required to watch Schindler's List. So we watched it
Wow.
at home.
Oh
So,
my God.
and so I watched it with him when I was a
And he's your
junior in
older
high
brother or
school.
you're younger?
Yes.
Okay, he's your older brother.
So, and yes, I'd watch Schindler's List the next year too when I was a senior. And then I did not watch Schindler's List again until I did my
Yeah.
Spielberg series like a couple of years ago because I'm like, watch this back to back years. I think I'm good. on my Schindler's List quota for a while.
I mean, it's just
But
such an emotional, like, like it's hard to watch it multiple times.
well, and that film highlights very plainly, and
Yes.
I don't get the criticism that people have of like, well, it has some of that Spielberg kind of sheen to him. Like, really? Because last time I checked, I
Yeah.
watched Ray Fiennes just gunning down Jewish people with a sniper rifle for, his morning rituals. Like,
Yeah.
this
You
movie
can't
shows
think
the
about that movie.
darkest of humanity.
Yeah. You can't think about that without feeling like sick, right? And
Yeah.
that is why art is right and good and necessary because you want, like, when you just learn history from textbooks, you can have sort of like, you feel it, you feel horrible, but you can have a more emotion, not with the Holocaust, but I'm talking about with like other
Yeah.
things you read about, like this war, right? But then when you see a movie about this war, that war, and the people become human to you and alive to you, like you read the dates of wars happening. I learned about Vietnam in school, and I didn't have a connection to what it was till you see movies, images, like, till you
Yeah.
see, but mostly movies.
Well, and there's very haunting images that you could look at from the Holocaust. But
I know.
how
I
many
have seen
Holocaust
things.
films have there been? So, like, I don't think
Yeah.
like humanity, like, there are unfortunately people that deny that this all happened, which is completely wild to me. But there's so many
Thank
films
God
that
none of them will
highlight,
be listening to this. Thank God none of them will be listening to this podcast.
probably, yeah.
Stay away.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I think artists have done a pretty darn good job of highlighting that the Holocaust was an unbelievable atrocity against Jewish people and so many others that got lumped into this. So, and if you seek them out, there's films about all these different types of things because that's how we process things through art
Yes.
and tell our stories. And they speak to us. And like my wife went to Auschwitz
Oh
and
my God.
walked through that. She said that there were there was just a cloud over this place, like something evil, and like you could feel it. And the thing
Yeah.
is, like, not everybody has the money to, make a trek out to Europe and experience these things, but films are films bring things to us that we can process
Oh
and
my God.
learn from.
Did you see the Kieran Culkin and oh my God, oh my God,
Real
oh my God.
pain. Yeah.
Yes, where, it's about it, but it's not about it only, but it's about like, and then there's that one scene where they're in the old like camp and
Yep.
it's so
And you
emotionally
felt
affecting.
it.
The movie's been, yeah, you like you're there. And that is
There-
the point. Like I just wish the Image book had just been a narrative film that he decided to explore this same idea of somebody who's obsessed with movies but denying the atrocities of the world. Like that's a good narrative film I'd love to see. Let's make it,
well,
you know?
there we go. At the end of the day, though, what did the Image book accomplish? Getting us thinking and discussing, obviously, 50 minutes later, as we've explored a lot of things. And if that was Godard's goal at the end of the day, he accomplished it. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll never know because I've never spoken to Jean-Luc Godard, and unfortunately, he has passed away. Um, and I'm interested to look to see if he did interviews about this and talked about it. And here's the thing: some artists are very open about talking about their
Yeah.
art, and then you have the David Lynch's who are like, don't ask questions. Like,
Yes. So funny because David Lynch like loved to talk about himself and his process and magic and the moon and the world and like not the art, right? Like,
yeah,
um, I think I was waiting to talk to you to do a deep dive, and I would also love to read an interview. And I would love to have said to him, what was the reason and
Yeah,
why this way? But like, you're right. It's kept us talking. It made me sleepy. It made me frustrated. It made me angry. It made me sad. It made me intrigued and wanted to watch like eight of the movies that I saw in the thing again. Or if I didn't know an image, I got mad and I was like, wait, what's that from? What movie is that? You know? And so it did activate me.
absolutely. And
So
at the end of the day, that's what art's meant to do, right? So there it is.
100%.
So,
Art done its
art did its job. But Suke, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this movie with me. And also for watching it, because this was an interesting ask for sure.
And we've had such a good run, like the 1930s comedies that we've
Yeah.
watched, and the like, everything we've watched has been like a slam dunk, and we've always been like, what an adorably gem of a movie. And this was not an adorable gem of a movie. So we needed this as a reality check for our movie watching together, I think.
This movie was not adorable at all. And
No,
definitely was not trying to be at all. So,
and not a gem so much, maybe more, it felt like a boulder, like a thoughtful boulder of
yep,
a
something
movie.
got dropped on us and we had to figure our way out. So there you go. But thank all of you for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your favorite, documentary that takes that approach of like an essay type exploring something in some shape or form? I'm trying to think of one that I've watched. Honestly, Made in England, the documentary about Alan Pressburger. That's basically like Martin Scorsese does grandpa cinema, talk and walks us through Alan Pressburger's movies. Like that
Oh,
spoke to me. Um, that's one of my favorites, like taking that kind of like essay approach. But it certainly wasn't as complex as this one. And make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding. We have so many shows with all different types of interests, especially if you love movies. And if you're interested in joining the crew as a guest on a show like this one, you never know. You can get something wild like this and want to come on and talk about it. Or you have an idea for your own podcast and want to start it. But check out our website and reach out. And if you like our logo, check out HiFlyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.